Guys, I don't know if I can express how cautiously optimistic I am about J.J. Abrams' upcoming Star Wars film. And I realize that dates this episode a little bit because by the time some of you watching this episode, the film may have already come out and then we'll already know if it's good or bad, and I envy you for that. Get over it already because the date that this episode released is down in the description. Okay, I'm sorry that I lashed out. I'm just really excited about Star Wars, trying to pretend that I'm not. And you may not know this, but it was actually a 5 Facts About Star Wars episode that I did on my other YouTube channel, youtube.com/SayGoodnightKevin, that inspired me to start this channel that you're watching right now, Movie Facts. So I figured since the first Star Wars live action film to be made in a very long time is coming out this month, I find it only fitting to bring you 5 facts that you might not know about Star Wars. I also understand that Star Wars is a very popular property with an extensive expanded universe, and it's very difficult to find facts that everyone doesn't already know already, but we did our best here on Movie Facts, so here we go. Number 1. So the Star Wars saga was originally just gonna be one movie, but whenever George Lucas was writing it, he realized that it was totally too long and decided to take 1/3 of the script and just make the film that. But he didn't just want to throw away 2/3 of a script that he worked a year on, so he decided to tuck it away in hopes that maybe if the movie was a success, he would bring it back out and use it for sequels. And as we know, that did happen. However, the original script that George Lucas put together was a little different than what we ended up seeing on the big screen. Or little screen, if you're like me, and you weren't alive when they came out in theaters, so your parents went to Blockbuster and rented the VHSs. Originally, Han Solo was gonna be green with gills, but when casting, Harrison Ford wasn't green and he didn't have gills. So Luke Skywalker was gonna be a 60-year-old general, and his name was Luke Starkiller. When Lucas was making his contract with the studios, many of these things were changed. However, Lucas, being a very smart businessman, made an agreement with the studios that he would get to make 2 sequels no matter how good the films had done, and that he would get a large portion of merchandising rights, which at the time, studios didn't care much about. However, they do care about it now. Number 2. Earlier this year, I did an episode about Jaws. You can check that episode out right here. It's pretty good, I don't know. In that, I explained what a difficult time production was for Steven Spielberg because of the fact that they filmed it on the water rather than filming it in the studio because Steven Spielberg wanted that authentic feel. That being said, for George Lucas, all of the scenes that were filmed on Tatooine were also done on location, not in Tatooine, but in the Sahara Desert. This experience was somewhat comparable to the Jaws experience for him. Between the heat, the sand, and the tropical storms. Oh, you didn't know about the tropical storms? It's a topical tropical storm. So the desert doesn't typically get a lot of rain. That's why it's, a desert. However, on the first day of shooting Star Wars Episode 4, the Sahara Desert got the biggest rainstorm in 50 years. So the rains came in and the floods came up and it destroyed a bunch of the equipment and they had to rebuild and shooting was canceled for a little bit, but then they got right back on track because George Lucas, he's a trooper. They stuck with it, and thank goodness they did because they ended up making one of the most beloved franchises of all time, known as Star Wars. Number 3, George Lucas didn't originally want Harrison Ford in the movie. He had him in a smaller part in American Graffiti, and George didn't want to be one of those directors who, cast the same guy in every film, like Steven Spielberg does, J.J. Abrams, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese. Oh, every single good director does that. During casting for Episode 4, he had Ford come in and just read the part of Han Solo opposite the people who were auditioning for the other parts. After Lucas saw what Harrison Ford was bringing to the part, he knew that he was in fact Han Solo. Similarly, Lucas didn't want to cast Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones either, but Steven Spielberg insisted on it, saying that he was perfect for the role. And he was. Number 4. Speaking of Indiana Jones, George Lucas drew inspiration for the character of Chewbacca from none other than his dog. A dog which he had named Indiana.
We named the dog Indiana.
The sounds of Chewbacca were, well, several different animals, depending on his mood and if he was saying something in particular. They used the sounds of lions, tigers, and walruses. Oh my! Number 5. Okay, so you remember that part where the Tusken Raider holds the spear over his head and he's like... So that part was actually added in post. Tusken Raider actually only lifted his spear once. So they took the footage and they chopped it up and then flipped it. Well, here, I'll just do it for you. Thanks so much for watching Movie Facts. Do you guys have any Star Wars facts that you want to share with me? I'd love to hear about it. Leave them in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all the latest facts about movies that are coming out in the future. Also, if you want, you can check out my other channel, which is called youtube.com/SayGoodnightKevin. There lately, I've been reviewing a lot of your favorite movies. Maybe not your favorite, just a lot of movies. Okay, I review Christian movies, but it's a lot of fun. Go check it out. That's this episode. It's all done. Until next time, I'm Kevin, and those are the facts.